Welcome into the Rocc Pod, presented by the Royal Oak Chamber of Commerce. I am John Gay from Jag and Detroit Podcasts.
I am Lisa Bibby, your local neighborhood realtor with Keller Williams Advantage.
And I'm Trish Caruth from Your Personal Jeweler.
Thrilled to welcome, as the summer starts, Ed Nahhat of Shakespeare Royal Oak. The season is about to get started, and a lot of events and a lot of activities to cover today. Welcome to the show, sir.
Well, thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you, Lisa. And thank you, Trish.
Ed, let's start at the beginning. You founded Shakespeare Royal Oak back in 2001. How did you get the idea and to get this whole thing started?
I got to tell you, before I was a lawyer, I was trying to be an actor. I grew up here in Royal Oak and went to school here in Royal Oak, went to Wayne State University. I got a degree in theater, and I tried for a few years, but I found out that Tom Cruise beat me to becoming movie star. So I decided to try something else. So I went to law school. But after many years of being a lawyer and, well, I acted in courtrooms all the time.
Act out or just act?
Yeah, well, it's similar. But I decided that Royal Oak was missing something and that I was missing something, and my hometown. So one night in the middle of the winter, I was walking by a park and I saw a bleacher in the light, and I thought, we could do Shakespeare in the Park there. And from that one idea, within 6 months, we had our first Shakespeare Royal Oak Festival in Star J.C. Park on 13 Mile Road back in 2001. It came together pretty fast, and I pretty much did everything. We've got a few volunteers that we've had ever since then, but it's grown quite a lot.
What was the first show you did that first year, Ed?
Well, I was told by the head of the Wayne State Theater Department many years ago that if you were going to start a theater company, you had to start with A Midsummer Night's Dream, which is Shakespeare's most famous comedy. And so that's what we did. And it was a magical summer because the actors who played the fairies were dancing around in the trees in the background while the show was going on in the middle of the park. And it was just a magical night, weekend. It was a really, really wonderful time.
Wow, it sounds magical. I hope you're able to capture that on a video.
Yeah. Well, in those days, we didn't have any video of our shows, and we barely had photographs. But I'm fond of that time because it felt like an innocent time. The Royal Oak City didn't know what to do with me when I came before the chamber, and I said, "This is what I'd like to do." And they said, "Oh, okay, you're going to pay for it, right?" And I said, "Sure, I got a couple of sponsors." And it was so wonderful that I came in front of the city commission after it was over to thank them. And what a nice night. The mayor, you might remember Mayor Cowan, he was the mayor at that time. He thanked me and the whole audience applauded. And then the next day was 9/11.
Wow.
And we thought, wow, the world has changed. It's terrible. Everything is awful. We're going to war and everything. But I decided the next year that we needed art in our community and we needed to keep it.
Yeah.
So we've kept it all the way through, even through COVID.
Well, we are so grateful that you kept it. So speaking of being grateful, we heard you are going to be having a fundraiser coming up on June 29th, and it's called A Labor of Love. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Lisa. Every year we try to do some type of a special preseason event to raise some money and awareness for the festival. This year's effort is going to be at the Royal Oak Farmers Market on the 29th of June, starting at 6 p.m. And A Labor of Love is the title of the event because the show we're doing in July and August, is called Love's Labor's Lost.
Ah.
So what we're doing this year is something very unique. We've decided to invite all the people who want to individually sponsor us, $50, $100, come to a nice party at the farmers market and rub elbows with all the actors and the directors and the designers. We're calling it a pre-season cast party. And we've never done it that way before. And we're really excited because this particular cast for Love's Labor's Lost is our most diverse cast ever. And we're really excited about that. So Labor of Love is happening at the farmers market. And the funny thing is, I don't know if you know this, but we actually invented the event model at farmers market. Our company was the very first organization to ever do a special event in the farmers market in Royal Oak back in 2002. Of course, the city commission said, "You want to do what?" And I said, "The farmers market's a great facility. We should have a show there." And I talked them into it, and we did it. And now There's events there every other week, and it's just great.
So you just mentioned your upcoming show, Love's Labor's Lost. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Thanks, Trish. Every year we do a professional outdoor Shakespeare festival. And so we hire actors and directors and designers that earn a living doing this in this field. And so we plan ahead. Love's Labor's Lost is going to be hilarious. We're setting it in the 1980s. So it's a Shakespeare, rom-com, essentially. It involves three couples. And the concept of the show is pretty simple. These three men who are going to college make a pact with each other. And they say, in order to get our grades up and succeed in school, we're going to swear off love. We're going to stop any kind of romance. But the women in the play have other ideas. And so that's what causes the comedic conflict. And so we've set this play. Our director, his name is Craig Esther, and he has his own theater company called Break the Chain in the city of Detroit. And Craig's a visionary, and we worked with him before as an actor, but now we're asking him to direct, and he's directing a really fun version of this. It takes place on a college campus in the 1980s, and you're going to get all that cool, fun music as part of the show.
I'm certain the outfits are going to be amazing too.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen the costume designs yet, but you can imagine, right?
If there's a decade whose music is endured, it's probably the 80s. So that's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, some of us are old enough to remember the 80s.
I remember the 80s. I mean, I was in elementary school, but I remember the 80s.
Stop it.
I just did a listing video dressed up in an 80s workout outfit, and it's a hoot.
Oh,
it's
yeah?
blowing up right now as we speak.
Well, that's great because people who were dressing in those clothes are now wishing they kept them.
Yeah, because everything old is new again. Everything's retro, right?
Yeah.
I had to search far and wide to find that costume.
Ed, we're going to get into some of the other specific programs you do here in a minute, but how many shows do you do a year? How many different productions are there?
Well, the company that I am the president of, it's called Waterworks Theater Company. It's a nonprofit 501c3 located right here in Royal Oak. And like you said, it's been around since 2001. So over the years and the decades, we've done lots of different theater projects, but Shakespeare Royal Oak is our fundamental core event that we dedicate ourselves to every year. So for example, last year, we did the Shakespeare Royal Oak Festival, but we also produced a 6-week professional tour throughout Michigan of the Michigan premiere of Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom.
Wow.
So the stage version of that play, we traveled around the state for 6 weeks and ended up here in Metro Detroit and closed it out in September. So we'll do projects like that. I co-produced a show out in Williamston at a Williamston theater early last year. And over the years, we've done lots of different types of shows. But Shakespeare Royal Oak is our core event. We even did an online, during COVID, we did an online reading of a play because no one could gather, right? So we did this. We got together, we did an online reading, and we invited people to just join it. And it was, well, I wrote the play. So, I'm kind of biased. I'm not sure if it was any good, but it was something to do during COVID.
If only I had bought stock in Zoom before COVID.
Right.
I know.
I know. Mask.
Well, speaking of all of the fun programs that you offer, do you offer anything specifically for like the high school age kids?
Oh, I got to tell you, Lisa, we have 2 actual programs, but the high school one I'm especially fond of because I just retired from coaching the high school drama club at Royal Oak High School. I did that for 12 years. And because it was my alma mater, I felt really attached to it. So I worked with high school students for 12 years and they grew up and now they're all off in the world professionally. And during that time, we started a high school program in the park. And what the high school students do is they come to the park and they learn for 2 intensive weeks. They put on their own show. They act in it, they direct it, they stage manage it. They learn from professionals about how to do stage combat, how to stage manage a facility and other actors. We treat them like adults and they learn to put on their own show, essentially, with guidance from professionals. So that's a 2-week program. It starts, I think it's July 17th this year. The cool part about it is they actually perform on our professional stage 3 times. So during the middle of our festival, we give them 3 nights, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. and they put on a show at 7:00. This year, they'll be doing A Winter's Tale, which is kind of cool because we've never done A Winter's Tale. So the students will be doing that after they do a 2-week intensive. So they learn the show, they direct the show, they costume the show, they do everything. And then they put on the show. And the cool part about the neighborhood is you can see this show for free. There's no admission charge to see that. There's a donation box, but we really want the community to be able to enjoy Shakespeare, any night that they want.
That sounds great. I know that for younger kids, you also have something that's called Kids Act. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, Trish, I got to tell you, Kids Act is really close to my heart because I started the program back in 2002, and I had to populate the school, the camp, I guess you would call it, with all of my nieces and nephews because I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure who would sign up for it. So it was a lot of fun. What I really wanted to do with that program, and what I still want to do with that program, is entice boys and girls to come and just have fun in the park and learn about Shakespeare's language and learn about how to work together and how to perform without being afraid. But most importantly, I like to give them safe sword fights because
I love that.
they love safe sword fights. And so we use these foam swords, and then we teach them actual stage combat maneuvers. And we also recently introduced them to improv as well. So we do the Shakespeare intensive with them, but they don't do a full performance. They do what you would traditionally know, like a recital show at the end of the week. They only have 1 week. These elementary students have 1 week, and then they'll put on a show in the park on our stage on Saturday. So it'll be 5 days in the park, and then they perform on Saturday. And it's just a joyous time, especially if the weather's good.
That's great. Ed, so we want to ask you a little bit about you personally, in addition to all the amazing work you're doing in the community. So I know your background as an attorney. Tell us a little bit about your day job and also what you do for fun.
Well, tonight I'm going to go sailing after work.
Nice.
I don't own a boat. That's just silly.
Way better to have a friend with a boat.
That's right. And
It's a hole you throw money into.
Yeah, so for fun, I like to competitively sail in the summertime, and that's a good exercise. It's a long time commitment.
What kind of boat do you race on?
It's a 40-foot sailboat. I guess they technically call it a yacht, but it's not comfortable.
He didn't want to be like my yacht, my friend's yacht.
My friend's yacht, no.
I raced for over 12 years,
You did?
I'm very familiar with sailing. Yes.
Oh, well, that's good
We'll
to
have
know.
to talk after this show.
Yeah.
That's what's great about these guests on the podcast. We learn more about our co-hosts every time. Did not know that about you, Lisa, 2 years into the show.
Yeah.
Well,
That's another life.
we're going to have to share notes about Mac and our race. So I like to do that for fun. And the rest of the time, I'm pretty much busy working as a lawyer. I'm a partner at a law firm in Troy called Kemp Klein, and it's got a 50-year history, pretty respected law firm. My law practice is focused primarily in what we call probate litigation, where people are unfortunately fighting over inheritances and wills and trusts and things like that.
Oh, we definitely need to talk after this show.
That's a hard slog, but it's important. Families need a system to resolve their issues.
Mhm.
But I also specialize in entertainment law, which is what really brightens my day. So if I help someone, a writer or a singer, or someone who's producing a podcast, for example, I have a background in entertainment law. I used to be the chairman of the entertainment law section of the State Bar of Michigan. I like that part of it. That's like my fun part of my job. And then the other parts, you do everything that the client needs. If the client needs to buy a house or an apartment building or open a new business. I was just in front of the Berkeley ZBA the other day getting a variance, and I go in front of the Royal Oak City Commission on various things. So it's a general practice, I guess, is what I would call it.
Awesome. Well, now it is time for our fishbowl question of the day, where we pull a totally random question. Lisa, can you give us our question of the day?
All right, get ready, Ed.
Okay.
I'm going to dig in here.
Okay.
If you could use magic to do one mundane task for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I guess what do you want to automate away would be another way to phrase that question.
What do you want to use AI for?
Yeah, really.
If I could use magic to do one mundane task, cleaning the toilet.
Good
I
answer.
was going to guess that one for you.
Mhm. Yeah.
I was expecting him to say some sort of attorney paperwork. Nope, he's cutting right to the chase.
Nice. There's not magic, but you can get a house cleaner to do that same thing.
Yeah, I know. You're right.
They are magic.
Yeah, well, so they just don't do it as well as you need it done, though,
It's the old adage, if you want something done right.
Yeah.
Well, Ed, we want to thank you for joining us today. We're going to put all the contact information and stuff about Shakespeare Royal Oak in our show notes. But real quick, best ways to contact the organization if they have questions for our listeners?
Oh, great. Yes. It's easy. It's ShakespeareRoyalOak.com. Now, we have a very nice website and we're responsive. We're also on Facebook and Instagram.
Well, Ed, it was so great to have you on the show and get to know you a little bit more. My name is Lisa Bibby, and I'm a realtor with Keller Williams Advantage. I put the real back in realtor. Unsure of how the market is shifting and thinking of selling this year? Call for a free consultation. You can find me on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Sold by Lisa B.
And I'm Trish Carew, third-generation jeweler and owner of Your Personal Jeweler. I specialize in creating custom engagement rings, wedding rings, and fine jewelry. You can find me online on Instagram and Facebook at The Personal Jeweler, or our website, www.thepersonaljeweler.com, or check out our showroom on 4th and Washington.
Which is a beautiful showroom, by the way. I've been there. I am John Gay from Jag in Detroit Podcast. I am the podcast guy. You like the way this show sounds? You want me to create a podcast to brand your business or organization? You can find me online at jagindetroit.com. Thank you all for listening to this episode of The Rocc Pod, produced for the Royal Oak Chamber of Commerce. To find out more information about chamber events or how to get involved with the Royal Oak Chamber, you can visit royaloakchamber.com. Thanks, everyone.